So, welcome everyone. Let's take a moment of silence to ingather before we start today. Yeah, would anyone want to read the opening aspiration for all of us? Okay, go ahead, Taru.
With boundless compassion and wisdom, I will work for the welfare of all. May we be free from hunger and discord and have joy and a world at peace.
Yeah, thank you. So, today we have to start with verse 13.
Uh,
Yep.
there's a lot of something coming from your end, like either the microphone is
Moving.
moving or something is there.
How is it now?
It's still there. Like I don't know, is it for everybody? It's there or just for me?
Yes, it's there.
There?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see. What to correct.
Yeah, some static, I think.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gone now. If you've done something, maybe unplug the microphone.
Yeah, what about now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay, yeah, I
It's
just
back.
reinserted. Sorry?
It's back.
It's back. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
When you took it out, I think it became okay.
Mm. How is it now?
Back. It was okay when you took it out.
Yeah, so there must be something wrong with in this wire.
So can we do it without the headphones or
Time just
it's
a minute.
good now?
Okay, so we were starting with verse 13 today, bringing suffering onto the path. So, if anyone would like to read first the verse and then maybe two paragraphs for us. Yeah, Taru, you want to add on something? Share? अभी ठीक नहीं है?
No. Yeah, I did. I didn't realize I was on
ठीक है.
mute.
Okay,
My
okay.
yeah.
ठीक है, ठीक है. Okay, Jagan, please go ahead. I think you wanted to.
Yes. If, in return for not the slightest wrong of mine, someone were to cut off even my very head, through the power of compassion to take all his negative actions upon myself, is the practice of a bodhisattva. This is relevant at this time because in many countries governed by totalitarian regimes, including Tibet, many people are hauled off to prisons and savagely tortured or executed through no wrongdoing of their own. Again, this is something that is not just theory, but is actually happening all around the world. Tibet is a good example. So many great lamas and others were imprisoned and cruelly treated, interrogated, and tortured for 20 to 25 years. They hadn't done anything wrong as far as this lifetime was concerned. Many of them were great masters. They probably recited to themselves this exact text, which they would have learned when they were young monks, because when they were released after years of imprisonment in labor camps, instead of being bitter and angry and feeling they had just wasted their lives, they came out radiant, thin but shining, with their eyes just glowing. Should I continue?
Yeah, please take one more. Yeah.
Yes. As is well known, His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked one of these political prisoners what had been his greatest fear, and the former prisoner said, "My greatest fear was losing compassion for my tormentors." Clearly, he didn't lose compassion because he just radiated that love. We also hear these real practitioners say how grateful they were for undergoing these hardships. Otherwise, all of this stuff is just theory, percepts that we can learn by heart. But when we are faced with someone whose only thought is to harm us, even though we have never done anything to hurt them in this lifetime, how are we going to respond? Well, either we can react with anger, fear, hatred, and fantasies of retaliation, or we can think, this poor person is acting like this because of their own delusions. How sad. I take all their negativity onto myself and I give them all of my virtue and merits. May they have great happiness. May they find peace. And the more difficult it gets, the more we extend to them compassion and loving kindness. It can be done. Either we go under and end up bitter, revengeful, and full of self pity, or we surmount and take everything that happens to us as a teaching on the path.
Thank you. Yes. So again, reminding ourselves that these verses, starting from verse, I think 10, 11, 12, 13, they say that they are for high level bodhisattvas. So they are more challenging in nature, and at times it may not resonate with us, that how is it possible, how can I do that, how on earth somebody does that. So it can happen that it may not resonate, but that's okay. We are just going through and taking whatever inspiration may come through these verses. So I think cutting off the head would be too intense, but even then, in our day-to-day life, if we feel that somebody has done something which I did not deserve, usually what how we take it is that we want to give it back. We all have given back, कि अगर कोई अपना स्पॉइल्ड मूड से हमसे बात करता है तो हम भी स्पॉइल्ड मूड करके बात करते हैं. कोई अगर हमको रूडनेस और इंडिफरेंस दिखाता है तो हम उसको और डबल दिखाते हैं. कि अब पता लगेगा तेरे को बेटा क्या होता है rudeness or indifference, something like that. So we always retaliate in a kind of, with a shadow and darkness and even more evilness of character. And here is some different experiment if we all want to try. And I was thinking that इसके लिए we need to have a very beautiful inner communion with ourselves. We need to have touched at least a relative degree of fulfillment within, that if I am with myself, I am enough. And only then, if we have touched that contentment and peace and sanity within, then we can do actually this. It's a beautiful experiment that somebody does us some harm, or some insult or some humiliation, and you actually give back with lots of respect, honor, and even more love and compassion, rather than giving back with what he gave with. So I feel that it's a very beautiful experiment, and uh, we must try it out first, uh, if we have not yet, and we must try it out in greater degrees. And I feel that it also connects us with purification of our nature. Because ऐसा लगता है कि मैं दूसरे के लिए कुछ कर रहा हूँ, देखो आई एम सो काइंड, बट ऐसा नहीं है. यू आर एक्चुअली डूइंग अ फेवर टू योर ओन सेल्फ by purifying yourself of all the negativities which you could have harbored, uh, if you had taken that circumstance on its appearance. So we are doing ourselves a favor actually to purify ourselves of all the weaknesses and imperfections. So that person has given us a chance to have this purification even intensified, I would say. और जहाँ पे ये मुश्किल होती है हमको, कि हमको लगता है कि कोई हमसे कुछ ले लेगा, दैट पर्सन कुछ रेस्पेक्ट ले लेगा, नेम ले लेगा, हमारी इनफेमी हो जाएगी, है ना, कुछ फेम खत्म हो जाएगी, नेम खत्म हो जाएगा. मतलब ऑल दीज अपीयरेंसेस विच आर हैपनिंग इन द मटेरियल वर्ल्ड, उसमें कहीं ना कहीं हमको ये लगता है कि कुछ मेरा चला जाएगा अगर, if that person has behaved in such a manner, or has taken something which belonged to me, some position or promotion or whatever, recognition that you deserved but he took it away. उसमें ऐसा लगता है कि as if I'll miss something. But if I have touched something deep within and have tasted that contentment within myself, then I would be able to give it all away. Why? Because I know that all that comes from the material world, I know that it cannot give me anything. I have it within myself. So फिर उसके लिए कोई तड़प नहीं उठती है, even if something is taken away and somebody is, wanting even to do further harm, because you have that fullness within. But if I don't have that fullness within, then it becomes very difficult to, even if to a relative degree, if I have not tasted it. So then it becomes a little bit difficult, that how do I make sense of such a verse? Yeah.
Can I add something?
Yeah,
मैं
yeah.
कुछ
Yes.
तो the only thing I think, I mean, I know, like you said, key, many people will struggle with this, but I have always tried to see as much as I can, key in light of what Shivanda and the mother have written. तो मुझे ऐसे लगता है कि in this, I don't know where I read, they have written it somewhere. Maybe you can pull it up, or somebody commented on this. Ki, non-violence, the way it is practiced, should really be non-violence of thought, of feeling. Because क्या होता है कि many times हम लोग बोलते हैं हम non-violent हैं अंदर से, and I think you touched on this, so definitely at a vital interchange one can do it. He, I have no ill will towards a person, but I can still kill. In fact, Shobindu has a very famous aphorism, right, on this. So, ये मुझे, I mean, it's okay. I mean, there is a practice. I respect that this thing practice, but कि you can't kill physically, you can kill. uh, you know, तो soldier मारता है, तो he is not binding himself in that sense. I mean, whole Gita is about that. So that is the only disconnect where I feel like the emphasis should be on the non-violence in thought, in emotion. In fact, that is much harder. कभी कभी तो हम लोग बोलते हैं कि एंगर कंट्रोल कर लिया, अंदर से तो we are seething. I think you just touched on it right now. तो then you're plotting all these things in your and then we'll use I know people will say all this in front of me also. Oh, uska karma will come and bite him and all. I'm like, why are you saying all these things? It's meaningless, So but that is what most people will do. They'll make them feel good in some way कि भाई उसको तो कहीं punishment मिलने वाली है, इतना he's doing something so bad, uh, as opposed to being completely detached. Now that I feel is very hard, and actually something that we can all aspire to.
Thank you. Yeah, I think when they say cut off the head, it actually doesn't mean that action of violence, but usually when it hurts us, it's our ego that is getting hurt. So when masters and mystics usually have used the word cut off your head, they have referred to that the ego is hit. And you were right when you were sharing that it must be non-violence in the being, because we are so ill and negative and evil in our thoughts and feelings. But on the face, we don't look like that, So I may be interacting very beautifully with a person, but I may be harboring all kinds of negativities about that person in my interaction, within, and the person doesn't even know. So that's true, we fool ourselves. And here in this verse, it's actually about getting rid of that ego sense of separate self that we have, जिसको hurt होता है, क्योंकि जब तक उसको हर्ट होता रहेगा तब तक वो ऐसा पॉसिबल नहीं है कि मैं इविल थॉट्स मेरे अंदर एकदम से खत्म हो जाए या डिसअपियर हो जाए. सो टू नो दैट, and in the other book, actually we refer to two books here, and Jetsunma also refers to the other book, which is The Heart of Compassion by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. Here he says that it is like, if we can't strike at the root of all this violence, which is I believe in a separate self called me, and then there is the other, जब तक हमको उस सेपरेट सेल्फ से मुक्ति नहीं मिलेगी, तब तक ट्रू रियलाइजेशन और ट्रू कंपैशन इज नॉट पॉसिबल. Because whenever I am hit and I believe in that separate sense of self, which we call as ego, it is not possible not to harbor evil thoughts or negative thoughts about a person who has harmed you, in some way or the other. We will have negative thoughts. So slowly what we see is that, imagine करो कि मेरे को किसी ने insult किया, and I am seeing the ripples of negative thoughts about that person in me, which are now ripples because I'm trying actively not to believe in them. I know it's a function of ego that lets it come up. So I'm looking at these ripples and I'm not following its dictates. The ripples are there, that person said something to me which was insulting, or did something which I did not expect that person would do, and it hurt me. Me means it hurt my ego. So the ego is hurt, but now I am, through understanding and through reading Mother Sri Aurobindo and all these good books, I am realizing that no, I am not this ego self who is feeling hurt. So what I am doing is I am stepping back from that hurt, and I am actually being more kind to that person, because उसने जिस भी space से किया, he is not himself in a right space, so I don't want to give him back with that space. So I think that it is actually what you were sharing, it actually goes into that direction, that it's non-violence of our inner being, जो हमको दिख नहीं रहा होता है, more intangible aspects, thoughts and feelings के level पे हम इतने violent रहते हैं mostly, ऊपर से नहीं दिखाते. So it is actually changing that inner attitude, क्योंकि उसमें हमको ही शांति है, हम अपना ही भला कर रहे हैं. किसको शांति है उसमें? अगर कोई जेलसी और एंगर में नहीं मरा जा रहा, उसमें किसको शांति है? मुझको ही तो शांति है, और वही शांति मैं स्पिल आउट करूंगी. So it's like I'm doing a favor to myself, and by that the side effect is that, you know, we spill it out on the other person also, some goodness. So in the other book, they strike at the root of this I-ness. I'll just read a few lines from this book, the commentary. So he says, yeah, so he says, should someone chop my body into 1,000 pieces, may I not be the least bit upset, but straight away put on the armor of patience. So again, a little bit intense, but what he wants to say is that my contentment does not depend on all these appearances. I have the contentment within. And even if you chop my body to pieces, it's okay, man, you know, in that sense. So it's a little bit dramatized, I would say, for our contemporary kind of life. And then he says, in return for harm, a bodhisattva tries to give help and benefit. If you see someone doing something negative, think of all the suffering he is accumulating for himself and pray that rather than his being reborn in the lower realms, the result of his negative actions may come upon you instead, and dedicate to him the results of your own positive actions. To practice in such a way also helps to eradicate your belief in a truly existent self. So, believing ourselves in a separate self, you know, like a entity which I can preserve from external forces, or you know, somebody can harm me and I can harm others. So, to practice in such a way also helps to eradicate your belief in a truly existing self. For finally, your true enemies are not some ruthless people in power, some fierce raiders or merciless competitors who constantly harass you and take everything you have, or threaten you with legal proceedings. Your real enemy is your belief in a self. That idea of an enduring self has kept you wandering helplessly in the lower realms of samsara for countless past lifetimes. It is the very thing that now prevents you from liberating yourself and others from conditioned existence. If you could simply let go of that one thought of I, you would find it easy to be free. If you overcome the belief in a truly existing self today, you will be enlightened today. If you overcome it tomorrow, you will be enlightened tomorrow. But if you never overcome it, you will never gain enlightenment. So this, I feel that this is very much in resonance with what masters throughout the time have said, that realize who you truly are. You know, self-realization, because we don't know who we truly are. And believing ourselves in a false, ourselves like I am a false limited, you know, limited, this ego personality, we do a lot of harm to ourselves and others. Lot of harm. We actually torture ourselves first. So he says that by practicing this verse, slowly we can let go of this little separate entity that is always lacking something and wanting something from the world. So slowly with practice, we can let go of that. I feel it's quite powerful if one practices it, of course, in our day-to-day interactions with people around us, relationships that we have. Yeah. Yeah. Anything more anyone wants to add on? At one point, mother also shares that uh, be good for the sake of being good. तो मानो किसी ने आपके साथ बुरा बर्ताव किया, बुरा बिहेव कर रहा है कोई आपके साथ, and you think that you don't deserve that, you know, so a thought comes, क्या आप will you still behave nicely with him? Would you still be loving towards him? And the answer must come at one stage that yes, irrespective. So mother says that conditional goodness की जगह नहीं है यहाँ पे. She says that be good for the sake of being good. Just because you have a taste for being good. एक नया taste develop हो गया. That there is no other option that you have. So unconditional goodness, unconditional love, unconditional kindness, compassion, wisdom, as if that you have now become choiceless. उसके अलावा हमारे पास कोई taste नहीं है. There was a election here in our community. There's a mystical bent to that election, so I want to share. So one of my friends stood up for the election. It was a journal body, RWA type होता है apartments में. That kind of a committee they have to form. 11 people out of around 400 houses. So a friend of mine stood up for election, and out of 14 candidates, 11 had to get selected, and he also got selected. So there was a certain kind of fun and excitement that, okay, now it's time for me to do some work through being in the GB or whatever. Now the very second day after getting selected, another person came, and he said that I think the voting count was not done properly. The votes were not counted properly. So I would like a recounting in front of me. And that person also stood in the election, and he lost. So now all the members who are elected are called again, and whoever is standing also, they are also called, and the counting is again happening in front of them. And what happens is that three of the members, including my friend, they have a tie now. And that other person who raised a voice that no, something is wrong. So my friend and another person, they have a tie for one position. And so what they did was a draw of lots. Like they put chits together, and one person was pulled out, and the seats remaining. So the person who was pulled out of the GB was my friend. So it was very funny that one could have reacted with that, how dare you, first you give me a position which I did not ask for, people just gave it to me, and now you just take it away like that. One can also take it in that sense, or one can take it in that sense that, okay, whoever may have come, even though many people were saying that that person who came later and did not come earlier while the votes were being counted wasted a lot of time of other people, and just created a lot of drama, and he got the seat. Now he is in the committee anyway. So now, in what manner, because these are the things where we need to change our attitude. So in what manner shall my friend or us we take this? So shall we be calling all the negative things to that person, that how dare he do that, it's very unfair or whatever? We can also say that, of course. But if we are conscious about our inner space, we can also say that, okay, whoever has come, may that person do good job in the committee. May he be beneficial to the committee now that he is on stage, or in the uh, governing body. So I think these day to day matters is where we have to shift attitudes and become conscious that, why am I still harboring negative thoughts? It's not doing me any good, because we burn ourselves when we harbor negative thoughts. And I feel that it requires a lot of self kindness, because in Buddhism the first thing that they do is that loving kindness towards oneself, and then towards also extending it to others. So to be loving and kind to ourselves, that I want to have sanity in my mind and feelings. I don't want to harbor anything evil or negative, because before hurting the other person, it hurts me. So to be conscious of this inner temple, as Sri Aurobindo says that, if we want to install the divine presence there, we have to keep the temple clean. And it's a continuous cleaning. It doesn't bother whether I'm in the office or whether I'm in the family, or I'm on vacation or something happens. It doesn't matter where we are. It's just a moment to moment practice we are responsible for. Anything here? Anyone? Yeah, so we make a choice, and that reminds us that Sri Aurobindo talks about Aryan spirit, and he says that to be an Aryan is always a uphill climb, always. And always we have to make a choice. Each moment we have a choice, which thought to harbor, which attitude to have. We may think that I don't have a choice, but we do have a choice. And to choose that which expands our hearts rather than that which suffocates us is Sri Aurobindo. What he says, that to choose at every moment what reveals the Godhead within rather than what masks the Godhead is our choice. So what am I choosing right now in each moment? Totally, the responsibility is totally on me. So either we go under and end up bitter, revengeful, and full of self pity, or we surmount and take that everything happens to us as a teaching on the path. What is the attitude with which I want to take it? Totally upon us. We are free in choosing what we are choosing.
One of the good
Yeah.
things that मुझे जो लगता है जो I mean, as you said, it is quite dependent on ego. But again, as we put into practice, hopefully people are not coming and attacking us physically, but other ways, like you said. So what I feel is ki if we feel, I mean, how do you judge? Sometimes we are always in that thing. How do you know what is the right thing to do? Sometimes a certain amount of action is required also, which may not necessarily be maybe what somebody calls compassion. I can't think of an example. I'm not talking about physical this thing, but even otherwise. Uh, so what I feel is one gauge you can use in yourself is, does it produce agitation? Now, because if it produces agitation, then you know that it is coming somewhere from a place that is not your inner being. Inner being, I think, and I've, you know, listened to, I think, some of your earlier talks also and others. But that, I think, is the key. And you spent a lot of time right now emphasizing that. So I feel that is a gauge for us. If we see that, that means something is wrong. If we don't see that, we may even appear angry, and it is totally fine. But that, I think, we can use as a practice in our daily life. Ki agitation hai, so that means there is something wrong. If I'm generally calm or, very no agitation or very little, then it's. So sometimes I feel is like, we think we're doing right, but we are, and even mentally the mind justifies. This is the right action, and they will even use scripture for it, right? It's beautiful, the mental gymnastics we do, but we are agitated, and then you realize that is not the right action.
Yeah. 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 Anything else anyone wants to add on? Okay, so we'll go ahead a little. Yeah. Anybody wanting to read can read something more. है कोई?
Nobody, I can read again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nandini, you want to read? I think you unmuted.
Uh, yeah, you can go ahead as
Sure.
well.
Yeah, yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Although few of us are going to be imprisoned, beaten, and interrogated, there's always situations happening in life, such as people who don't act the way they should for no ostensible reason. Why should they be so nasty? How do we act or react to them? How do we take it as an opportunity for enhancing our practice and benefiting them through our thoughts of loving kindness or not? Do we act like ordinary people who have never heard a word of dharma? Sometimes I remind our nuns that it is not having a shaved head and wearing robes that make us a dharma practitioner. It is how we respond to everyday circumstances. If some if someone does something we don't want them to or speaks to us rudely or criticizes us, how do we respond? When an Australian friend of ours drives on Indian roads that are a great challenge, especially when someone cuts you off on a blind curve or stops dead with no indication, she comes out with quite ripe language to express her feelings and then immediately adds, and may you be well and happy. So, as long as we remember that bit, shall I go on?
Yeah, thank you. We can stop here. Thank you. Yeah, so this is beautiful. There are always situations happening in life, such as people who don't act the way they should for no ostensible reason. Why should they be so nasty? तो कभी कभी होता है ना, कोई बंदा हमारे यू आर ग्रीटिंग समबडी एंड द पर्सन डजंट रिस्पॉन्ड बैक, सो यू थिंक कि मैंने क्या गलत कर दिया, कि ऐसा मैंने क्या गलत बिहेवियर किया कि उस बंदे ने मुझको स्माइल, ही डिडंट गिव मी द स्माइल बैक, और maybe he's angry with me, I don't know, maybe I don't appear good to him, so all kinds of, and we have no check upon these thoughts. So this is very beautiful to see that all the thoughts are just coming into us, barging in without any license. They don't need anything. They just come in without asking, with no permission required. And not only that, we also entertain those thoughts because we are, most of the time we are unmindful. So all these thoughts entering about other people's behavior and why the person did not smile back to me. I mean, so many moments we lose in such uh, unmindful chatter, just because I'm not mindful of my mind space and all the thoughts I allow. And as Sri Aurobindo shares in Savitri, old cancelled passports serve. So पुरानी चीजें जो हमको लगता है कि हम भुला चुके हैं कि नहीं, वो वापस आ जाती हैं, फिर वो हम वापस उसकी जुगाली करने लग जाते हैं. कोई कंट्रोल ही नहीं है. नो कंट्रोल, नो गार्ड्स आर सिटिंग ऑन द फेंस ऑफ आवर माइंड, नथिंग. आई हैव नो consciousness of my mind space most of the times, again, not that all of the times, but mostly. So all these thoughts we allow, and then she shares, how do we act or react to them, these people who we may think that they are not behaving as they should. Do we take it as an opportunity for enhancing our practice and benefiting them through our thoughts of loving kindness, or not? Again, we have a choice. Do we act like ordinary people who have never heard a word of dharma? Sometimes I remind our nuns that it is not having a shaved head and wearing robes that makes us dharma practitioner. It is how we respond to everyday circumstances. Everyday circumstances, day to day. Very trivial they may appear. If someone does something we don't want to, we don't want them to, or speaks to us in rudely or criticizes us, how do we respond? सो दैट इज अवर चैलेंज. ये सबसे ज्यादा गंदी और घटिया कंडीशंस में हमारे सबसे बढ़िया प्रैक्टिस हो सकती है इफ वी टेक इट एज अ practice ground. And Indian roads specifically are, I feel that if one wants to learn spirituality or wants to test in spirituality, I think Indian roads are very good, because even if it's a red light, there is uncertainty because you're not sure if anyone would stop or not. People can come barging in even at a red light. So I feel that my presence of mind, my practice of spirituality, the very fact that there is impermanence in life, things are uncertain, रेड लाइट है लेकिन कोई रुकेगा कि नहीं, इसकी कोई श्योरिटी नहीं है, तो मेरे को लगता है कि ये बहुत, आई फील दैट फॉर मी इट इट सर्व्स एज अ वेरी गुड प्रैक्टिस, है ना। और आपको कोई एक सिंगल लेन ड्राइविंग हो रही है लेकिन वहां पे आप ऑपोजिट लोग डायरेक्शन में भी लोग आ रहे हैं, है ना, सो यू हैव ऑलवेज टू बी ऑन योर alert, high alert. So it keeps the mind active, and I feel that I'm more close to that life is uncertain and there are, anything can happen anytime. So I feel that Indian roads are a very good uh, spiritual practice ground. And if we think कि मेरा हो चुका है, I am very calm and quiet and silent, and see, all the emotions are turned into very good emotions, then come on Indian roads, drive, and then we can test how much of my practice is really, you know worked and how much is just on the surface. It really challenges us. So all these difficult situations, they are our very good challenge. They make our spiritual muscles work, those of us who want that adventure, of course. Yeah, anything here, anyone?
I really liked the last lines where she gave an example of an Australian friend, and how, of course, she must be Dharma practitioner, and how she says that she suddenly comes out, and mostly she comes out with the right language, but immediately she also, and they may be well and happy. So I think that's also very important, because sometimes personally I get really annoyed with myself that, oh my God, the lower nature keeps coming back again and again. Although we have read that, Shabino says the spiritual path is about falling down on your face all the time, and then, just getting up and looking at God, and, like going on. And but still it's hard, because you try to do something and you feel it's okay, but then again this thing. But I think it's about training the mind, and Buddhism actually talks about it very well. It's spirituality is all about training the mind. You can really, and now even science is talking about that, how brain is, it's flexible, that you can train it. Scientists say that you can change it anytime, your whole neuroplasticity of brain. So I think in that sense, I find so much solace that, okay, even if I've fallen, even if, this time again I've harbored negative thoughts, or I have wasted that 1 hour in that circles, I can end at least that circle with an affirmation that may the other person be happy and well. Whenever that realization hits us, and that's why she says that, as Dharma practitioner, or even not practitioner, if we read something, keep applying them. That even if you have, every time you'll have that right language, end it with may they be well and happy. So I think that's very important, training your mind, and that's nothing that than to actually train your mind to have equanimity, to have loving and kindness. Because I see it that it's actually the training your mind. You do it, you don't do it, and then again the brain will go into the normal grooves. You leave the practice, you don't read, you don't get in touch with that. Till the time it becomes in your DNA, it becomes the new normal, and that's how it functions. But it takes a long time. I think that example was quite nice.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
And that line where she says that I keep reminding my nuns that it's not that your head is shaved and you're wearing a robe that makes us a good dharma practitioner. I think that I really strongly resonated with that, because a lot of times, because we are always in images, right? So I just feel okay, I'm doing this, so dharma is far from me, or when I'll go there, then I will do this. Once if I do that course, or if my location was that. So I always keep putting things on tomorrow, and on situations and circumstances and people. Like I would have advanced so much if not for this. But when I do this, I'm just repeating myself, but just to, how Jetsunma, if you when we listen to her, anytime anything gets a little bit complicated, or if she feels that somebody has a confused expression on their faces, with so much love, she just says, it doesn't matter, forget everything, just have a good heart. So even after shaving my head or wearing the robe, and it's a hard life for a nun. Like if you go to a nunnery, at 4 a.m. you get up, they're reciting, they're learning, they're memorizing. At night you see they're, it's like it's really hard work. It sounds that okay, you have just renunciated and you're in a nunnery. But if nothing has changed, like if the being has not softened or opened up or has compassion, then what's the point? Like again, it's just, these things like all other bells and whistles that yes, I am so, and nothing has changed. So a very beautiful reminder that it doesn't matter from outside what your appearances are, where you are, and anybody can. And even, there are so many times when, not many times, but a few times when they talk about the Tubdam or rainbow body, that how there was a simple person, seemingly practicing and he passed on and there was this thing. So we don't know. So we shouldn't judge, not ourselves, not others. Yeah, very humbling and grounding, I think. Thank you.
Also, I've also kind of, with practice, you see it that the more good you see in people, even if it's a little bit, if you feel that increases. And of course, it's hard when your ego is at stake and you get really hurt. But that can be the practice, the Tonglen meditation you can do all the time, that you're always not only spreading kindness, but always trying to see that treasure, that small gem, the divine element that's there in the person, and only focus on that and nothing else. That's very, personally, I find it really beautiful, that story. I think I've shared it before, but of a mother where very close, one of her attendants, something happened, and mother used to be very she used to point out at your faults all the time, small things, like even if you have kept something on the table which is near, she'll say, look at this, it shouldn't be here, otherwise it will fall. So awareness. Sometime I remember there's a story that on the door, at the door something was wrong with the door, so people has to bend it, otherwise they used to bump. And Amrita came and asked the mother that we should fix it. And she said, no, it should not be fixed. It will teach two things to people. First, they will learn humility. The other thing, it will teach them to be more alert. Because as when the head will bump, they will realize that they need to be very awake all the time. Otherwise, everybody is always unconscious. And I keep saying it, have to be conscious, have to be conscious. So, I mean, in that sense, she used to always point it. And one of the times, I think one of the attendants, she got really angry, and she was really temperamental too, and she just left everything, and in anger she said, I'm going to leave and I'm going, and she just went to the room. And imagine that happened to the mother. um and she went and she was packing her bags, and mother sent somebody and said to her that mother, I don't know, flower or something, gave her mother, said a note, and she said, this is mother has given this for you. And she said, I don't want it, I'm just leaving, because of course she was angry about something. And then mother, then she said, at least hear what mother has said, let's read. And she said, okay, what is it? And she said, mother says that, even she does not know how much she loves me. So, I mean, I was so moved that she could have even have said that, tell her that I really love her, or, how we usually do, try to tell people. But mother actually picked up that element of love that's there in her, and kind of, brought that. And immediately things changed so much. Of course, she apologized and things. So that story really touched me, that even though there's so much faults, because we all are in ignorance, we see so much ignorance in other people because we are self ignorant. But this small practice of seeing that one good thing that the other person has, I think can make such difference and can really make relationships beautiful.
Yeah, lovely, lovely comments. Just one thought came. Again, somebody had mentioned this is very nice along the lines of what everybody said, but also the fact that uh, when we see and we do observe people sometimes are very selfish or rude or suddenly you'd say like ego is very ripe. Choti bhi cheez like unko lag jati hai. But mother also writes that, and this is true for everybody, all of us also. Ki whatever quality, kind of, if you think, oh, this person is so selfish, he says the other opposite is exactly, actually you are meant for that, right? तो अगर कोई बहुत selfish है, तो you know that this person is going to be at some point extremely, like the opposite, right? So very giving in every way, and there is a stage that they have to go through. They have in their own journey that they have to go. So then compassion arises. Because I think somebody said earlier, we judge. We are always judging, and that is a very treacherous thing. So, so that I remember reading that and I found that so beautiful. So I said, कि अगर मुझे भी दिख भी रहा है किसी में, so that means they are capable of manifesting the extreme opposite of that, which must be so beautiful. They're not there today, but they will eventually get them.
Yeah. बुरा जो देखन मैं चला, बुरा न मिलया कोई, जो मन खोजा आपना, मुझसे बुरा न कोई. So as mother says that people are just like mirrors to us. I think if we can see it in that sense, and whatever negative we see there, we can see also here. I think that would be really a very good practice for each one of us. और ये जो दूसरों पे हमारा बहुत ज़्यादा एक्सेसिव फोकस होता है, इस पे कबीर जी कहते हैं निज सुख आत्म राम है, दूजा दुख अपार. मनसा वाचा कर्मना कबीर सुमिरन सार. So he says that as long as we are with ourselves within this inner communion and not too much focus on what people are doing and all the bad things that are happening in the world around you and the people next door, what are they doing which is wrong, trying to fix them, their behavior. So all that excessive focus on others and their faults and even faults and praises, एक ही थाली के चट्टे बट्टे हैं. Too much focus on others basically brings us lots of turmoil. And if we can reduce that, we know that it cannot just disappear, but if we can constantly develop and make concrete this inner communion with the presence within, and make that more concrete than the outer appearances and commentary on the outer appearances, I think then maybe things will begin to shift if we want to give it a try. Because all of us, virtually all of us, are just so obsessively thinking about others all the time, or this little me. It's the same thing. Me or the other, thinking about this little me or others. It's the same thing, because as long as this little me exists, others will also exist. So, yeah, it's just too obsessive. It just drains lots of energy in which we can do so many good things. So many good things. Thinking about others, and as you were sharing earlier, that we obsessively judge ourselves and parallelly we judge others. And too much energy is drained. Too much. And for good stuff, we have hardly any energy left. Then we are so sleepy because, oh my God, the mind has been just so chattery that you just want to rest. All the energy is drained. And the more we have purity within, the less there is self-talk and the talk of others, commentary about others. We will see that our energy kind of rises in a relative degree. We have more energy for work, we have more enthusiasm and vigor for life, and we have more self-giving in works. It's just too obsessive. What goes on in our head is, it's like old habits die hard. रोज हम कुछ ना कुछ अच्छा पढ़ते हैं, फिर दूसरों के बारे में सोचने लग जाते हैं, फिर अपने बारे में कमेंट्री करने लग जाते हैं, फिर रोज कुछ अच्छा पढ़ते हैं ना, बहुत सुंदर सुंदर चीजें पढ़ते हैं, फिर वही चल रहा होता है, हर अगले दिन वही चल रहा होता है। अगले दिन क्या, उस सेशन के कुछ समय में बाद वापस शुरू हो जाएगा, है ना, कि दूसरों के बारे में, अपने बारे में कमेंट्री। So this is, I feel that these are old habits which may have served us, but now maybe it's time for them to disappear slowly and new beneficial habits to come in place. So as some of us were sharing, thoughts of goodness about others. अगर आनी ही है सोच किसी की, so what Nandini was also sharing earlier, and the shift in inner attitude where you think positive about others. अच्छा सोचना ही है किसी के बारे में तो अच्छा सोच लो. May they be truly well, and may they have true contentment in their life. That's it. तो जैसे वो हम करते हैं ना, we give a rounding off, we give it like a closure to that stories about others, and then we are very easy, we can come back to ourselves. Otherwise, if we leave unconnected threads and judgments about people in our head, then we see that as if we leave our pieces here and there. हम खुद ही स्कैटर हो जाते हैं उसमें, और जैसे ही हम राउंड ऑफ कर देते हैं, चाहे कितना भी प्यारा है, चाहे कितना भी एनिमी है, सबके लिए आपने राउंड ऑफ कर दिया सबको. मे दे बी ट्रूली वेल एंड ट्रूली हैप्पी एंड कंटेंटेड इन देयर लाइफ. देन यू सी दैट इमीडिएटली यू कम बैक टू योरसेल्फ, क्योंकि अब सारे आपने वो जो स्कैटर्ड थ्रेड्स से वो दे टेक यूनिफाई एंड कम बैक. Yeah. So we can make a pause here. There are last comments we can take. This is page number 86 on verse 13. We are pausing here for today. Yes, Tanu?
You know how it started with, how when the Dalai Lama was asking one of the people who got tormented for no reason, how, and we all know the atrocities that happened in Tibet, that how people were pulled from monasteries and raised local people and just harassed. And one of them, when asked, there was nothing spoken about the atrocities, nothing spoken about why did this happen to me? Why is God so unkind? Oh my God, the Chinese are horrible, for example. Like none of this, he just had one concern, that may I not lose compassion for my tormentor. But when I look at my story, my oppressors, who I call my oppressors, or, like it feels like, shame on me. Like, for example, right? Like this, what we just said is a kind of a masala for a Bollywood movie, that, oh my God, what all had happened. And when we look at our stories, such trivial things could have happened, which could have taken up in light. But the me in me, that this happened to me. And as soon as even a small thing attaches to me, and because me is really big, the small thing becomes me because it happened to me. So just, again, an aspiration and a prayer to learn something from such stories that we read, and may it not just be, something beautiful that touched my heart for 5 minutes. May it truly help me release the things that I'm holding, that are one thing is not serving, the other thing is actually pulling me down, right? They are the reasons why I'm not be able to step forward, because I'm just holding on to trivia which had actually no value at all. So may it just help me see the things, the mud, the thing I'm holding on to, which is not no longer even there. And yeah, just thank you for taking up this thing.
Yeah, thank you. There was a person today I was talking to, and this person has got an opportunity to serve at a remote place. And earlier, this person was in a city like place and living like how we have lives in city. So this person now got confused, and the person said that I have a doubt. And the doubt is that when will I live a normal life? And I said, first of all, let me know, please, what do you call a normal life? And then, of course, the person started laughing, because all of, if we go closer to each one of our lives, we know that everyone is living an abnormal life. There is no standard normal life. And the other thing was that the person asked that now my friends and family, they are asking me that you are not getting any money in what you are doing now. Now this doubt has also creeped in my mind, that that's true, I am not getting any money. So I told that person, yeah, that is true, you are not getting any money. The question is, would you still do it? If you say that no, if I would not be able to do it without money, then just leave and go ahead and live your normal life. And the other thing is that no, if even if other people may think that I'm not getting money, but I would want to do this even if for not any money, then go ahead, do it. So why can't we keep it simple, and to know that we are making a choice? We are making a choice, and you know we we empower ourselves when we know that yes, this is my choice, that I want to do it irrespective of money being offered to me or not. कल मुझे चाहे गालियां मार के निकाल दे यहाँ पे, तब भी मैं आज यहीं पे काम करूंगी, because it I know that I want to be here. So you're making a choice. So I think again it comes back to our daily day-to-day choices that we are making, to know that we are all empowered, and for each thought that I am harboring, and what was being shared, that whatever old patterns that are pulling me down and not serving me right now, there also I have a choice. I'm looking at that pattern now. I am that consciousness. I'm that light of consciousness looking at that pattern. Now, what is the choice I make? Do I follow its dictate, or do I cultivate a new pattern which is beneficial? And this is why we are all here. There was there is this book by Tara Didi, Learning with the Mother, where she shares how class after class mother would share different things with all the children that were there. So in one class, mother told all the children that our task is to change. So the title was to change, and everything that is negative was listed first, and then the title was to change it into its opposite. So to change jealousy into generosity. So as a human being, this is our task. तो अगर वही हम नहीं करें तो काय कि हम मनुष्य ही क्यों है, लानत है अपने ऊपर. Then she says to change darkness into light, to change tamas and laziness and inertia into vigor and activity. So all the negatives that we have in life, she had labeled them, most of them, and the task was to turn it into its positive. And that's what we are trying to do here, by reading and getting inspired, and reminding ourselves that we always, always, always have a choice. And not only have a choice, but our task as a human being is to turn all the negatives into the positives. जहाँ पे fear है उसको, in certitude, mother had said, fear into certitude. So that person was having doubt and fear. So that she has to change now it into certitude. Not to be living by the dictate of doubt and fear, but to change it into certitude. Yeah, so we can then end here, if not anything, and dedicate and share all the merit that we have, individual merit, collected merit, all the goodness that we may have, pooling it together and sharing it with innumerable sentient beings who are all craving for contentment, happiness, just like we crave for it. May we not live a life of a beggar while we are all kings within. May we recognize our kingdom and kingship. May we all be truly well and truly, truly happy. Yeah, thank you, everyone.